How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sector 6, and today we are finally getting to it. It's the breakdown for Chapter 4 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it's a bit of a big boy. It's a pretty big boy. I'm possibly thinking that future chapters that are pretty substantial, we might end up splitting it into two, but maybe not. We'll see, we'll see how this one goes. But yeah, don't forget, like the video, subscribe for future content. This is the first video edited on the new PC as well, so, you know, let's see how it goes. But it's time to jump in to Chapter 4. So we pick up where we left off at the end of Chapter 3, with the Condor flying off into the distance, munching on a little bit of Black Cloak jerky, essentially. And as we leave the cave, they start moving off towards Junon, which in the previous video I said it feels a little bit less like we're following them, but they're kind of showing us the way. You know, like they're our tour guides on this little adventure. We just don't realise it. We think we're following them. So, you know, and I mean, I suppose we are following them, but you know what I mean. We get some backstory on the Condor from Red 13, talking about the Condor that lives at the top of an abandoned reactor, but there's no way to access it now. Hopefully in part 3, you never know. Anyway, we head straight over to Lower Junon for now. We'll get to all the side stuff later on. And really briefly, one thing that I have decided to do is I'm going to pull the Proto-Relic and the Queen's Blood content, and I'm going to make individual videos on them. Probably going to make both of them over the course of the next week or two, because I think I can just break them down into one video that just covers all of Queen's Blood, and then one video that covers all of the Proto-Relic stuff. I think that's going to be easier, rather than kind of picking them up each chapter and kind of working through them piecemeal a bit at a time. I think it'll flow better if I do one video. So we're not going to be talking about Proto-Relic stuff anymore, and we're not going to be talking about Queen's Blood stuff anymore, but just keep an eye out over the next week or two. There'll be individual videos for each of them coming up. So I'm not going to forget about them. It's just going to make my life a little bit easier. Anyway, I've not got time for this. Let's go. So yeah, we've head over to Lower Junon, and eventually we get there and we meet Rhonda, who's like the mayor and sheriff of Lower Junon, and she quickly lets us know, A, that we're wanted, which we kind of already knew anyway, but B, how much Shinra are offering to people to turn us in. I'm sure that won't be of any concern to us going forwards. We'll be fine. It's not a problem. Rhonda points us in the direction of the inn where we can get some rest and get together before we head to Upper Junon, which is something we need to figure out, because Rhonda points out to us that the elevator is a no-go. Security is extra tight at the minute due to something that is going to be going on in the upper city of Junon. On the way to the inn, you can have a little wander around, chat to a few people. You can get into some Queen's Blood. Like I say, we'll cover that in a separate video, but, you know, you can go and play some Queen's Blood if you want. But the main thing to do at the minute is to just ask around, see if we can get any info on any boats to rent to cross onto the next continent, and see if we can find any sign of our Black Cloak tour guides. Now, while listening to the townsfolk in the area, we learn that the Turks have been seen arriving, so we know we've got company. And we learn about how the area used to be a massive hub for fishing activity in the area. We also stumble across a representative for Crow's Nest, which is a group that are actively fighting against Shinra at the minute. This guy's having a real bad time. Poor guy. But the Crow's Nest rep basically just talks about how bad Shinra are in general, and how things would just be much better without them around. Preaching to the choir. Continuing on, we find a large protest against Shinra happening over by a locked gate, but as we saw in Midgar, these elements are all kind of kept out of the way and in the Undercity. Shinra just sweep it under the carpet, forget it exists, or at least keep it down there where no one can see it. Good old Shinra. You can run around and chat to the party, like I say, play a bit of Queen's Blood, but eventually you're going to want to make your way over to the inn. Upon speaking to the innkeep, we hear some screaming and shouting from outside, so we obviously got to check out what's happening. We've not killed anything for like a solid 12 minutes by this point, so, you know, we need to get back to it. And what we find outside is Yuffie under attack from Bottomswell, Terror of the Deep. Pfft, it's Bottomswell. Now, Mr. Dolphin obviously isn't going to allow that to happen, and Mr. Dolphin swoops swims in, and saves the day, getting Yuffie out of the way, while we get to deal with the big angry fish thing. Now, after we stomp Bottomswell, Rhonda gives Yuffie CPR, which replaces the scene where Priscilla is the one who needs CPR from the OG, and Yuffie gets up, thanks us, and just runs off. And then 30 seconds later, sprints back over to us when we walk back up to the main city. It's a little bit weird. She's a bit all over the place at the minute, this kid. Yuffie has a mission that she needs some help with, and she thinks that this branch of Avalanche is the real deal when compared to the HQ branch. You know, she says all the right things, she panders to our ego, and we agree to speak to Yuffie the following morning at the inn, which is a choice we'll obviously never regret. So, we head to the inn, book 5 rooms, and then some weird stuff happens. We overhear a conversation where Aerith and someone are talking about how their memories of the future were stripped away from them by the Whispers at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Aerith says she can almost remember what she lost, but not quite. Maybe when she finds that connection to the planet again later on in the game, she'll get it back, but at the minute, and the other person that she's speaking to kind of reiterates and mirrors that, saying, yeah, the Whispers just kind of stole the memories away from them. And we're obviously talking about the future memories that Aerith had and that Aerith had given to Red 13. It's interesting that the Whispers did that. I would assume it was just kind of like a passive function as part of their kind of job, because their job is to maintain the timeline. And if you've got people going around with knowledge of the future, then they're obviously going to try to alter that timeline. So you take that knowledge away. It just seems like a general thing that they would do. It makes sense. It does make sense. But, you know, just to address the elephant in the room, I kind of hate the voice thing that they're doing with Red 13, I'm going to be honest. Neither voice is bad, but to go from one to the other is a bit too much of an extreme, and it just feels a bit weird and bleh and pointless. I don't know. Other people disagree with me, as is normally the case, but I'm just not feeling this one. I'm really not feeling it. Like, either one of them for the whole time would have been fine, but to go from one extreme to the other, it shows impressive range on the part of Max Mittelman, but like it's jarring. Yeah, there you go, jarring. Moving on. Cloud moves on and heads upstairs, and he bumps into Tifa. And the two of them have a conversation with them both apologising and making amends for what went down in Calm between the two of them. The way that they both kind of doubted each other. But moments later, the two of them are talking about Nibelheim from when they were younger. Cloud isn't particularly interested in the conversation and kind of reads it for what it is, which is a test from Tifa, kind of. I don't even know if she fully realised she was doing it. She probably just subconsciously did it. Do you know what I mean? You know, she does have doubts about Cloud, so she is going to try and probe and get answers. But she apologises again, and everything seems to be fine, and Cloud kind of says, you know, they need to find some time to sit down and have a proper conversation, clear the air. So we can look forward to that. This is a better conversation than we got between the two of them in Calm. Things were very stressed and strained in Calm. This is much calmer. Oh god, I'm an idiot. Anyway, Cloud then leaves, heads up to his room, gets on his bed, fully dressed, and pounds out some sit-ups, making the bed nice and sweaty for him to sleep in. I mean, god damn it, Cloud, why are you like this? Like, come on, man. Anyway, morning arrives, and so does Yuffie. Now, Yuffie does her intro, tries the hard sell to get herself ingratiated to the team, and the response is pretty lukewarm at best initially, which isn't a surprise. But then she drops the real info, which is that after struggling since leaving Midgar, she finally has a well-paying job. From Rhonda, of all people. And that job is the assassination of Rufus Shinra, which is something that everyone can kind of get behind, I think. I think everyone in the room can get behind it, but Barrett just scoffs at the prospect of it, like, you ain't doing that. Which makes Yuffie respond by letting the party know that Rhonda's going to pay Yuffie using the bounties that she's going to get for turning us in. Shit. And literally almost immediately after that, we hear some noise outside, and we are then interrupted by Roche. Now he's all revving his bike and being, my friend! So yeah, that's a thing. But as this is happening, Yuffie just dips out of the window like later nerds. But she tells us on the way that if we do escape this situation and we want to get up to Upper Junon, we need to go and see Priscilla. So, you know, we'll keep that in mind, we'll deal with this first. And that's what we do, we go to see Roche. Outside, Roche lets us know that his mission is to capture Aerith, which we obviously aren't going to allow, but, you know, he's not here to fight right now. He's issuing us a challenge right now, because Roche is weird like that. Roche wants us to go to Upper Junon and just have a fight up there. I don't think he's... I think he feels weak in the slums, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, it is weird. I mean, one thing that I did consider is Roche already suffering from Jenova a little bit and kind of doing things not necessarily to help Cloud, but to just kind of compel him to continue on the journey? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, come and meet me in Upper Junon, because he knows that if he goes to Upper Junon, he'll have easier access to get out of Junon. I don't know, I'm probably thinking too deep into this. He's probably just an idiot at this stage still, and Jenova hasn't really done anything, but it's an interesting possibility, but probably not. Anyway, after the whole situation diffuses, Roche leaves, much to everybody's joy, and then we go and see Rhonda. And Rhonda pays us a pathetic 5,000 gil as an apology, but she makes out that she knew that we'd escape, or that nothing was going to happen to us anyway, or that she would have bailed us out if things got heavy. And I'm not being funny, but how is Rhonda bailing us out? If we can't do it, Rhonda sure as shit ain't doing it. Anyway, side quest time. First, we need to escort a dog to Crow's Nest. And while the quest itself is pretty tepid, Salmon is a legend, and the music is a banger. So he gets a pass. I'm going to be honest with you, he gets a pass. We protect Salmon on the journey, with Barrett having an emotional crisis regarding letting Marlene fly the nest when she grows up, and letting her live on her own. Now this is all triggered because we talk about how Cloud left Nibelheim when he was young, when he was 13, 14, to go and join up in Midgar and, you know, join the army. And it gets Barrett thinking about, you know, how he's going to encourage Marlene to do her thing and to shine and to fly and everything like that. But by the end of the journey, just before we get to Crow's Nest, he's worked himself up to the point where he's just an emotional wreck. So, yeah, poor Marlene. We get to Crow's Nest, and it seems like the bulk of our bounty has been sent to Rhonda's son. Initially, her son tries to refuse the money, but he's got a child on the way and a partner, and it's a lot of money, and Barrett's just basically like, bro, take the money. Stop this shit. Take the money. Take the money now. Take the money now. I'll take the money. Take the money. So, they take the money. Then Toby turns up.
Dilster was looking for you, dude. Dilster.
What a guy. We follow Toby into Crow's Nest, and this is definitely the Fort Condor replacement area. So in the OG, Fort Condor was a place of Shinra resistance, and in the build-up, I was hoping to see resistance elements at Fort Condor, but with it being an inaccessible location in Rebirth, it's good to see that Crow's Nest kind of picks up the mantle a little bit as kind of like a resistance encampment, almost. I like it, it's a good thing, it's a good thing. Now Toby tells us about a merc who's been doing some work, merc work. And they've been doing that in the local area, or at least they've been advertising that they're going to do some merc work in the local area. A merc who'd done many great deeds in Midgar and the... Oh, it's Kyrie, isn't it? It's Kyrie again. It's Kyrie. We'll go deal with Kyrie soon. First, let's go and do a little bit of bird watching. We head up the hill and we check out this bird. Apparently there's a bird, a condor of some sort. And we find a group of people that are sat there just watching, obviously bird watchers. And we chat to them and we learn that the condor hunts beasts, etc., but never people. Which is interesting given what we saw at the start of the chapter, the condor picking up one of the black cloaks and just flying off. Very interesting. It suggests that the cloaks have all but lost their humanity by that point, and that tracks. Just mindless puppets at that point, but it's weird. Unless it's a symbol of nature trying to attack Jenova in whatever way that it can. Maybe that's what the deal is. We even learn that the condor one day saved this man's life, which is, you know, it's a pretty cool story. He was gunned down by Shinra forces, but the condor picked him up and carried him to the next town over. Another possibility for what may have happened with the Black Cloak and the Condor situation earlier, but given the direction that the Condor was flying, I don't know if that's right. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we go cow hunting because Condor needs food, obviously. So we go cow hunting, and after a lot of messing around and chasing around and running about and chocobo climbing about, we get a cow. And we return the meat to the hill, and the Condor comes along for a nice little snack, and it's a good time for everybody. It's a nice easy quest though that gives us a chance to see the Condor and works it into the world, making even it seem anti-Shinra, which isn't shocking to be fair. This was a nice quest. This was a nice quest. We're going to have to go deal with Kyrie, aren't we? We may have to kill Kyrie. Kyrie has set up shop and started an aggressive marketing campaign in an area where there is literally no foot traffic. It's a big brain move, it really is. In fairness though, the theme song is a legit banger. Like, I'm not even joking, it's amazing. And it's so much of a banger in fact, that it attracts a load of enemies from the local area that just want us to kill them. So after spending a few minutes chastising Kyrie because she deserves it, she needs to chill, we decide to go out and kill some enemies. Now while we're doing this, Kyrie is giving us motivation from above, but eventually we kill all of the enemies and Kyrie comes down and realises that this isn't the best location to start a business from, and she leaves. But she does try to kidnap Red 13 a little bit. Kidnap? Lab rat dognap? Lab rat dognap? Lab rat dognap. She does try that, but Red's not having it. Red's not having any of it. And I'm sure we'll never see Kyrie again. She's obviously going back to Midgar now and everything's going to be... Oh god, Toby's here. Why is Toby here? Go away, Toby. Seriously, when you appear on screen and one of the first things you say is, Dilster, I'm done with you. I'm absolutely done with you. Anyway, moving on. We're nearly done with the side quest in Lower Junon. We help Gabe get his Chocobo courier service back up and running, with Aerith chastising him quite heavily for not, you know, sorting his own shit out. And as a constant side quester in all games, I feel this with all of my heart. Like, these NPCs in games need to get their shit together. Oh, my thing broke. Please fix it for me, child, who has gone on an adventure. Like, it's ludicrous. Oh, it's a bit cold outside. Go change the climate for me. No, we're not going to do that. Oh, I need food. Can you work my jaw for me so that I can chew? No. Stop it. You need to get some independence, these NPCs. You need to sort the shit out. Anyway, we go find resources for the Wainwright. This is someone who's going to make the part to fix the car, and then the Chocobo courier can go about his business again. And this is all extremely easy to do. We get that done. And we get some information. We learn from the Wainwright that Gabe and himself used to be in Junon's Chocobo cavalry. And they used to hunt Shinra back in the day of, like, the Junon resistance. But now, there's no point. They lost substantially. Like, it was a beating, according to them. And now, they just want to grow old and die in peace. It seems like it's a sad truth for a lot of people in Junon whose livelihoods and autonomy has been stripped away from them by Shinra, and now they're forced to use Mako to survive because they can't survive off their own backs anymore, because that's been taken away from them by Shinra. It's a sad state that Junon's in at this point. Aerith also kind of goes in on Gabe a little bit, you know, kind of trying to make him be a bit more responsible, rather than just kind of giving up and sitting back. And she does it in quite a harsh way, but it's quite motivational as well. I think it's what Gabe kind of needed. So yeah, good stuff. But then we have the best side quest in the entire game. I mean, it isn't, but it is. Frog Wipeout. I mean, there's not even anything too much to look into with this or talk about. Just go and do it and have fun, I think. That's the point. If there is anything important going on, I missed it because I was too busy being a frog. So, you know, get up. Anyway, we've done everything that we're going to cover. Like I say, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to cover all of the Queen's Blood stuff for everything, the whole game, and all of the Proto-Relic stuff for everything, the whole game, in one video. Well, one video each, over the next week or two. So keep an eye out for that. I'm not going to miss it out. I'm just going to give it its own focus to shine. But it's time to head up to the upper city of Junon. So, the plan is, Cloud uses Mr. Dolphin to jump to the control booth, lower a ship down for everyone to board, and then raise the ship to Upper Junon. We do the Mr. Dolphin minigame, which is also great fun to do. Much better than the original version where you just went to the exact right spot and press square. This is fun. This is good fun. So we do that, and we build up enough speed, and off we fly into the sky, barely dodging electrical currents that could fry Blanca, and land exactly where we need to be. We do all of the things, we get everybody on the boat, we get the boat up there, and we head into Upper Junon. And we jump from here to a cutscene of a helicopter landing in Upper Junon on the airport, and out step Rufus and Heidegger, here for the parade clearly. So, things are about to get busy. Now the party make their way up, and eventually we reach the airport, and we see the glorious Highwind. Ah, soon, my pretty. Soon. Now we've got a fair bit to do in Junon, but before that we switch back over to Rufus, and this is the infamous scene where we first meet Glenn Lodbrok. Now I've done a full video on the channel breaking down what we know so far about Glenn, so you can check that out if you haven't already. Also, I've got every chapter of The First Soldier broke down, which is the story where we really meet Glenn for the first time, so you can check that out, playlist on the channel, keep an eye on it. But this scene essentially boils down to Glenn kind of turning up and just messing with Rufus a little bit and kind of goading him and kind of prodding him to continue with the plan. The plan. Now, the suggestion is that rekindling the Wutai War might not be such a bad thing after all, and I kind of feel like that's a case of, you know, perspective. But, you know, for Glenn, it's a good idea. And, you know, spoilers for the whole game here. I feel bad that I didn't immediately pick up on the fact that this is a super Sephiroth-coded bit of dialogue here. You know, reset the planet a bit, reunite the world with war. It's pretty on the nose, and I genuinely just missed it straight off the bat. I had a feeling, but I didn't. This should have been enough to confirm it for me. This should have been 100% enough to confirm it for me, so I feel a little bit bad about that. But anyway, Glenn leaves, telling Rufus that he needs to get shit done, basically, and we need to, you know, we need to get this war going. Rufus doesn't seem happy, let's put it that way. But anyway, we cut back to the party, and we need to figure out how we're going to do this. We need to figure out how we're going to do this, how we're going to get in and through Junon. And the party decide that they want to confront Rufus and find out what the deal is, as we are getting mixed messages. The Turks have said that they're going to leave us alone, but this bike douche Roche is following us about chasing Aerith, so, you know, where are we at? What's going on? What's the situation? Now, Barrett suggests that we bust up the parade and confront him, but Cloud has a much better plan, which is to join the parade, get in close, and get answers. Now, Barrett and Red get sent off on their own to secure a route, as they won't blend disguised as Shinra troopers, which is a fair point. It's a fair point. But Tifa and Aerith stick with us, and just improve this section so much. Like, the fact that the three of them are in it, like, this is one of my favourite sections of the game. Not so much the whole chapter, but just this section of the game. It's so much fun. So much fun. We find some uniforms, we get geared up and ready to roll. Tifa and Aerith kind of, like, get super into it and start like, freeze, dirtbag to Cloud and all that sort of business. It's glorious. And Cloud has a little bit of a moment of like reminiscence, like, oh, it's been a while since I've wore one of these, which makes sense. And we head outside, but we quickly get accosted by the Commander Adjutant in the corridor for not being at practice. And this guy is pretty hilarious. He gives us a bit of a dressing down, and I love this little moment where he freezes and gives us the side eye. I absolutely love it. But he drags us off to the commander, who puts us through our paces, which is the practice mode for the parade. After a stellar performance, Cloud is promoted to parade captain and charged with gathering the rest of Midgar's 7th Infantry together for the parade. And like I say, so begins one of the most fun parts of the game. We spend our time running around Upper Junon, gathering as many units as we can find for the parade team so that we can win, get the presidential commendation, get close to Rufus, and ask the questions that we need to ask. Now, some of the moments we get while running around recruiting the troops are just genuinely amazing. The troops constantly give us support and egg us on, like, did you find what you need, sir? Whenever we leave a shop or kind of reunite with the group, it's just amazing. They're just following us around, egging us on in a giant column of troops that grows with each unit you recruit. So, like, you start off with just a few guys just following you around on the street, and then you end up with about 70 guys just kind of stood there like, yeah, how's it going, man? Did you have a good day? It's just glorious. I love it. But there are a lot of other glorious moments that go down while we're running around doing this mission. The first of them is obviously the Glabrescent, which is a club where the only requirement seems to be a bald head. Love the song, love the salute. Rude's dumb for not recognising us, but maybe he does recognise us. We'll get to this later. Out on the main promenade, Barrett is in the iconic Sailor Barrett outfit, which means we don't have to riot, everything's fine. They gave us the things that we needed. Moving on. One of the units that we find is in the middle of an interview with a Midgar news crew, so, you know, obviously Cloud jumps in and lets himself get caught on camera. Smooth. Smooth. Not that it really matters, but it's still not smooth. He's not an intelligent man. Like, he has moments of shining intelligence and then utter dumbfoundery moments later. Like, I can't deal with it. We find Red being harassed by kids, which is usually the deal when he goes to places. At least they're not kicking a football at him this time, you know? Every Cloud. Oh, look at all these troops. We are genuinely building an army. I told you, it's glorious. We find Alina upstairs drinking her woes away. She has a really rough time in this game. I did a Twitter post about this the other day. Like, she has a real rough time in this game. We also see some Sister Ray model kits, which is nice, but something was pointed out to me over on Twitter by DeltaSyn, and it's an extremely good point. It's that it isn't called the Sister Ray until it moves to Midgar in the OG, which I'm pretty certain is correct. It's just the Junon canon or the Mako canon prior to that. So what's going on here? What's going on here? Is it renamed just because? That'd make sense, to be fair. I'd be fine with that. Although, it kind of wouldn't make sense. I don't know. Is it a bit of timeline bleed? Is it bad quality control? I don't know. It can't be bad quality control, surely. Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe it's a bit of timeline bleed or a bit of rename just because. Either way, I want one. I want one of these kits, one of these model kits. So, you know, get to it, Square Enix. Let's put this into production. Thank you very much. It's a fun time running around, photo bombing cardboard cutouts of Rufus, taking photos for people, pretending to be Stamp. That's not a sus bit of imagery or anything like that. Cloud pretending to be Stamp. Nope, that's fine. That's fine. Everything's fine about that. We also find this guy here, who I believe is this shop owner from Final Fantasy VII OG. Now, for a bit of context, in the OG, you go and talk to this guy the first time you go to Junon. He talks about how he used to be a soldier and how he's been feeling a bit recently. You know, he's not feeling his best, things are a bit off. Then you come back after Meteor has been summoned, and he's just stood there in a black cloak. And I think that is this guy. Obviously, he looks slightly different. The guy in the OG looks much older, but yeah, I think it's got to be this guy. It has to be this guy. And finally, we can find the Shinra middle manager giving an interview and derailing it entirely by, like, giving messages to his children, which, you know, it's pretty nice. I like the middle manager. More on him in a few videos, because, you know, he pops up again. But finally, we can begin the parade. Now, we gather all the troops. Cloud tries to give a rousing speech, but fails miserably, until Aerith and Tifa step in and save the day so well that Cloud gets far too amped up and tries to keep going. I love the moment where he just looks down at his hand, realises that things are going well, and just doubles down and goes for it. It's beautiful. Absolutely love it. It's like he gets swept up in that moment of power, and it's beautiful. Beautiful. But after that, we flip back to Rufus again, and we learn that the cannon hasn't been fired in 5 years, and again, they don't call it the Sister Ray at any point, just throwing that out there, and that Wutai would view any kind of firing of the cannon as an act of aggression. Rufus is like, so, and just decides to fire it anyway. It'll be fine, who cares? We want to have some fireworks, you know, good times. And sure enough, as he rolls out the parade a few moments later in the car, through the gathered crowds in the streets, we get to see the Junon cannon fire, and it is beautiful. It is beautiful. And again, it is referred to as Junon's famous cannon. Not the Sister Ray, nothing like that. So, interesting. Now, Rufus's plan to ring in a new era seems to have gone well, with even Glenn lurking in the crowd, seemingly giving his approval and being kind of happy about it. The people loved it, and, you know, Heidegger was right for a change. People love fireworks. Shit, Heidegger was right. Anyway, we obviously smashed the parade, you know, there was never any doubt, it was never in question. We were obviously going to, like, do good things in the parade. But afterwards we cut to Sung back in Rufus's office where we saw him earlier. And we find out that the Turks have basically been watching us the whole time and have got cameras trained on us at all times. And I just can't understand how this has happened. How have they been able to keep track of us? We've been so covert. We've been so covert. We cut back to the award ceremony for the parade, and the awards are given out with, obviously, the 7th Infantry winning overall and getting the President's Commendation, which Cloud, Aerith and Tifa are asked to go up and collect. But before they do that, Rufus gives a big speech about how they can overcome the challenges ahead of them if they pull together, and how Shinra's got a bright future and there are hard times ahead, but we can do it, and blah blah blah, promised land. Literally standard fluff for the masses, just to keep them on side. I love it. Also, I do love sneaky Yuffie working in the camera crew, which is a bit of a cheeky nod back to the original game when she disguises herself as a news reporter when the team are trying to escape from Junon in Dis 2, so I like that. But the gang head up, go to get the reward, and Rufus does the whole in front of the audience bit, but then he tells Heidegger to cut the feed, he cuts the microphone so that the crowd can't hear everything, and he lets us know that, you know, the jig's up. There's never even a jig, in fairness. They've known what we're doing all along. But Rufus begins to talk freely to us at that point. And while this is going on, Yuffie notices things have happened and the feed's been cut and stuff like that. So she sees this as her chance to, you know, get that assassination plan going. So she starts climbing up onto the rooftops and the rafters to try and get a shot on Rufus. Now Rufus, on the other hand, while speaking to the group, proposes that we just stay out of each other's way. Especially as far as us returning to Midgar. That's kind of his proviso. Just leave us alone, don't come back to Midgar. We're good. That's it. That's the deal. He even offers us a little bit of help by explicitly telling us that the Black Cloaks are following Sephiroth. I mean, he asks us, you know, what we know, and we kind of say that to him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's right. But, you know, it was something. He tried to give us something, some little bit of confirmation and a nudge in the right direction. He feeds us the line that, you know, they're going to be too busy fixing Midgar to deal with us. But we all know that Rufus is up to other stuff, as we've seen, you know, with the scenes with Glenn and stuff like that. But he does seem honest when he says that he'd happily wash his hands of us as long as we stay out of his way. He probably recognises that he's not really got a chance of stopping us in our current state. So he needs to kind of get Shinra back together a little bit first before he can be as dominant as he wants to be. Plus he's got this whole Wutai war plan that he's got going on. So yeah, we're a problem that he'd rather not deal with. That's pretty much it. He's hoping that we deal with another problem that he has, which is Sephiroth. That's the only kind of proviso. He's leaving us alone. A, don't go back to Midgar. Go kill Sephiroth. That's the plan. And it seems like a good deal. We're in, you know. I'm kind of happy with that. At least until the moment when Yuffie's shuriken nearly pops his little blonde head off his shoulders. But thankfully, Heidegger does the second useful thing of the day. I don't know what's going on here, but, you know, Rufus didn't see it coming. Heidegger saw it coming and got the president out of the way. He takes a bit of a wound on his back. But, you know, Heidegger has his uses sometimes, apparently. We were so close to either peace and quiet because they leave us alone, or peace and quiet because Rufus is dead, but instead Rufus is now just pissed and definitely won't be leaving us alone. We were so close. We were so close. Anyway, shit hits the fan, everyone scatters, and we now need to make our way to the ferry so that we can get out of here and keep chasing Sephiroth and doing the thing. You know, we need to leave. So we send the rest of the party on ahead to secure routes, but we end up getting stopped by members of our unit, the 7th Infantry, and it becomes difficult to shake them. Like, we convince them that we need to get everybody to go over to Larboard Junon, which is where the attacker was last sighted, escaping that way, but this group of troopers refuse to leave us alone, stating that there are people disguised as Shinra troopers around, and it wouldn't be safe for us to go alone, but they trust us. And genuinely, so begins the biggest love story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know, the one true ship, Cloud, and Midgar's 7th Infantry. It's a pure love. It's pure as the driven snow. You know, we killed dozens of innocent troopers and robots together, and we had a great time doing it. It was fun. We bonded. We got close. Until we bump into the motorbike douche again. And yes, this guy again. I feel like he's super lonely. He just wants a friend. Someone to spend some time with, maybe. Like, I think that's what it is. But this isn't us. Like, we aren't that guy. So after we stomp him and ruin another bike, he gives us his blessing and lets us head to the boat. Which, again, it feels like there's some weird stuff going on with him. I feel like in his head, he feels like he's kind of being noble. We've defeated him, so he's going to let us continue, but he's going to get us. I feel like that's what he thinks. But I can't rule out that there's some Genova-y business going on. It won't be much, because I don't think he's been given the full course, shall we say, of Genova, but I'm pretty sure he'll have had some. He's a soldier, isn't he? And any soldier has had some degree of Mako and Genova impact, so maybe there's some subconscious stuff going on here. Maybe he's just dumb. Yeah, maybe he is just dumb. Maybe that's what it is. But, like I say, I can't rule out that Genova's already kind of loosely taking a grip on his subconscious, meaning that the compulsion of reunion would make him want to keep chasing Cloud, while also knowing that Cloud is probably heading in the same direction that he wants to go subconsciously, of course. And he does finish this interaction by saying, "I'll be right behind you." So, maybe. I doubt it, but it's a fun thought. I enjoy it. Unlike Roche. Anyway, moving on. We have one final awkward moment where we try one last time to shake the 7th, and they seem to be sus of us, and Psycho Cloud starts reaching for the sword, thinking it's been made, and this is another one of those moments where it doesn't come to any kind of fruition, but Cloud definitely would have killed all of these people in a heartbeat if he had to, and you can see that. And this is just more of that dark Cloud that we've got going on. Now, either through fear or genuinely believing Cloud, the troopers back down saying, "Oh, you don't need to take the joke that far. We know it was a female assassin." So, you know, everything's fine there, but Cloud was ready. Cloud was ready. But the troopers say that they understand that he clearly has something confidential that he needs to do that they can't know about, and that they will finally take the hint and piss off. But they do share some love with Cloud, who does the same back, saying that it was an honour and stuff like that. And it ends on a really wholesome note, even though 30 seconds earlier Cloud was ready to murder them all. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. And I really hope these guys pop up again in the future. Like, they pop up later on in Rebirth, but I hope they pop up again in Part 3, maybe as the submarine crew. I've seen a lot of people suggesting that they could be the submarine crew, and if you look at the outfits that the submarine crew are wearing, you know, it kind of matches up with the higher archer, you know, the commander and the commander adjutant. So maybe Midgar 7th, as a prize for this performance at the Junon parade, end up in charge of a submarine. Maybe that's how it goes. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, we finally make it to the ferry, and therefore the end of the chapter. We do struggle to get on board a little bit, but we blag it. Barrett being there in sailor uniform helps us a little bit. Captain Titoff's kind of like, oh, go on then, get on. We blag it and say, oh, we were the commendated people. We got a commendation. Yes, we got a free boat ride. That's what the commendation gets you. And they buy it. It's all good. And eventually, with a few more Black Cloaks following us on board, the ferry leaves. And the final shot that we get is Kyrie running along the deck, screaming that she's got a ticket, but to no avail. And, what a shame. What a shame. See you later, Kyrie. And that's the end of Chapter 4. So, for me, a very fun chapter. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of world building done, carrying on from the second chapter, giving us more info on the Republic of Junon and how Shinra just crushed them with seemingly little effort. You know, we see how Shinra have choked the life out of the area, with the only spot that has anything going on being the upper city of Junon. Everywhere else is pretty destitute, and it is strongly reminiscent of Midgar, with the elements that Shinra don't like being literally brushed under the giant metal city-shaped carpet, and essentially forgotten, or at the very least just subjugated. We also get Rufus establishing his desire for change and suggesting that there are turbulent times ahead for everyone once Rufus gets into gear, and we also get sus boy Glenn, who, like I said earlier, if you want all the deets on him, you can watch the video on him, or the playthroughs of the First Soldier that I've done, because Glenn's quite an interesting character, and while it isn't Glenn, you know, obviously if you finish the game you know the deal, it might be Glenn still. We can't rule out the possibility that this is at least some percentage Glenn. You know, the consciousness and the memories of Glenn will still exist within the live stream and things like that, so it wouldn't be too difficult for Sephiroth to kind of puppet that. There's also the possibility that more stuff happens with Glenn, because, you know, we've still got many more episodes of the First Soldier to come. We've only had the first episode, 8 chapters. We've got a lot more to come, and we're probably going to find out more about Sephiroth and Glenn and their interactions during the Wutai War. So I'm looking forward to that. This was a good chapter. Once you get into Upper Junon and you get to the parade, it's just insanely fun. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this one, because it's nearly a 40-minute video, this. So maybe in the future the longer chapters I'll break down. We'll see. We'll see. But let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the chapter. What was your favourite bit of the chapter? Do you hate Roche as much as me? Just give me your thoughts on the chapter. Let me know what you think. The Chapter 5 breakdown will be coming in the next few days. I'm going to get moving with this now that we've got the new PC built and everything's good, and I can edit videos without the PC crashing or catching fire, hopefully. I've not edited it yet. We'll see. If you're hearing this, obviously that's the case. But yeah, in the next few days, Chapter 5 will be getting done, so keep an eye out for that. I'll also be doing the Queen's Blood video, and I'll also be doing the Proto-Relic video, so keep an eye out for them as well. Like the video, subscribe for future content, share the content, spread it around, but more importantly than anything, have a great day.